Really?
Yes, really. It's all thanks to the Traveler and Eon-san.
I see. I was wondering why the Traveler was chosen to accompany the Pyro Archon in the final battle. But I guess he really can do the impossible.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. So, greetings and salutations, friends. I am New Mithrander. And I was planning on doing a proper intro for this, but I fast traveled to the nearest point to return to this quest and drop straight into this cutscene. And now we have Dude trying to get in on it. Sorry, Dude, but no. I'm a bit busy at the moment. So yes, we're continuing our aid to the Flower Feather clan. I believe we still have one more to go. The big fella with the hammer. I do hope they got the hammer away from him, considering that he mistakes pretty much everything for a monster.
Atoko's all better. Did you hear?
Really?
Yes, really. It's all thanks to the Traveler and Eon-san.
I see. I was wondering why the Traveler was chosen to accompany the Pyro Archon in the final battle. But I guess he really can do the impossible.
I sincerely hope that you're right. Because I rather don't like the idea of watching Mavuika die. Or Seatlali, for that matter. Or Shilonan. Or any of these people, really. Hoyoverse does a rather good job of endearing their cast to me. Unless, of course...
So all those rumors about the Traveler really are true.
Unless, of course, we're talking the Fatui Harbingers. Particularly Dottore. But to be fair, I don't want the captain to die either. He's a good guy.
Getting better too.
Okay, looks like we're gonna hear from everybody on the way.
Koichi, give me a hand for a sec. Right. Koichi's not... She's not here anymore.
Oh. Oh dear. I'd almost forgotten that name. But then it came right back, and the pain came with it.
Koichi, give me a hand for a sec. Right. Koichi's not... She's not here anymore.
Alright. Almost forgot that Eon-san still has no voice. Well, you've certainly been helpful as well, Eon-san. Do not undervalue your part in this.
Yeah! Honestly, Paimon was at a complete loss when she saw so many sick people on the hot air balloon platform. We only found a solution this time because you kept your cool and took control of the situation. You deserve most of the credit. Whoa, you're right. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think it's gonna take a lot more than a change in diet to make Paimon a good fighter. Frankly, I'd probably feel the same way, swapping from what I usually eat to going to kale juice. Bit too harsh of a change.
That sounds like something Paimon could do, but would that really change anything?
For you, probably not. Oh, you're not trying to tell us that you're fully grown, are you? I guess this is another miniature old person, is it? Is that why the white hair, or is that just part of her race, quote unquote? Because she does have pointy ears too, so she's not regular human, but I don't know. Problem being that on occasion your failure costs other people their lives. In which case, that failure might no longer be excusable, because it could be irreversible. As a general rule of thumb, you should always endeavor to try again until you succeed. But you do have to recognize when the consequence of trying might simply be too high. Well, I thank you for the advice, all the same.
Oh! Well, when you put it that way, Paimon's almost encouraged to start drinking kale juice tomorrow! No, today! Paimon will start today!
I'll believe it when I see
You're
it.
amazing, Ansan. You really make Paimon feel like she can do the impossible! Maybe your true strength is giving other people strength!
Well, she is literally a strength trainer. So she already is kinda doing that. And I suppose, as far as giving instructions is concerned, her own stature would be irrelevant. Although I imagine actually demonstrating a workout routine would be a fair bit more difficult.
Hian-san! Bad news! Okotland is out of control!
Oh, is that the big fella's name? Yeah, I kept saying that we shouldn't have left him with his weapon. And frankly, we probably should have tied him down, because unlike the others, he is a very big, very obvious threat. Yeah, you didn't take the hammer
What are
from
you
him.
doing, Okotland? Wake up!
Yeah, you should have taken the hammer from him. Just to start.
Don't you recognize us, my boy?
No, he probably doesn't. And that's a firm no, he doesn't.
The Abyss monsters are everywhere. Everywhere. They've taken over the tribe. No corner is safe. Did we lose the battle? No. It's pointless to think about that now. A warrior only has one job. Fight until the very end.
Careful! He's not himself! Oh, Kotlan! Bow your head.
So, he thinks we're abyss monsters? Hey, it's okay, we're not...
Wretched abyss! Get out of my tribe!
Mom, Dad,
Please, son, you've got to stop. You can't keep going like this.
wretched monsters.
Give me my family back! Look, Land! That's your father! He's standing right in front of you! Get out of my home! I'll never forgive you!
Are you alright, sir?
I'm fine. Please, don't hurt my son. He's just trying to protect his home.
Very well. We'll restrain him for the moment. That's all we can do until we can figure out some means of breaking this, well, delusion he's under.
But what should we do now? He's different from the other two. It's like he can't hear us at all. He keeps calling us monsters. We're basically enemies to him now.
And he is much too dangerous to be let loose. As I said from the first, we're going to have to restrain him for the time being.
Oh, Kotlan.
Abyssal corrosion syndrome.
Oh, I know that voice.
500 years later, and it's resurfaced again.
Captain.
That voice, it's...
The captain. Are you here to help? He has suffered from it himself, I
Direct
believe.
contact with high concentrations of abyssal power causes irreversible mental trauma in most people. The exact presentation will vary according to trauma level. Some will suffer from superficial hallucinations and maintain the capacity to perceive the outside world. In such cases, verbal and physical interaction can be used to break through the hallucination. However, there are also those who are so far gone, entrenched in hallucinations so deep, that medical intervention is the only option. That's why we developed the Drought of Lucidity.
We. Are you referring to Kandria, or are you referring to Snezhnaya?
The draft of lucidity?
It's a kind of medicine that can dispel the psychological impact of the Abyss. The treatment comes with severe side effects, including chronic migraines for the rest of the patient's life. So, it's reserved for the worst cases. This man is a devoted warrior, one not easily swayed from battle. That is precisely why it's so difficult to pull him out of this hallucination. If you trust me to be true to my word, give him this.
The drought, I assume.
Wretched monsters! Setting up an ambush!
Well, you recovered
Give
quickly.
me your worst! It's either your end or mine!
I will beat you into submission as many times as it takes, O Kotlan.
Hurry! Hurry! He's awake!
Please, give him the draft. My son thinks he's alone in this world. In his mind, all his family and comrades are gone, and only enemies remain. There's nothing more painful for a warrior than losing everything you fought so hard to protect.
Monsters! What's going on? Dad? What are you doing here? My head hurts. I just had the strangest dream. I dreamt the Abyss took over the tribe.
It's all right, my boy. It was just a nightmare. Let's go home. You need a good night's sleep. But first, I want to thank you for saving my son. May I ask your name?
Good question.
Just Capitano is fine.
You were about to speak your original name, weren't you? And yet we've been denied. Oh well. Perhaps next time. Or perhaps you'll speak the name to Mavuika. After all, you did know her 500 years ago. And I'm curious to learn how well you knew her.
I owe you more than words can say, Mr. Capitano. My name is Mune. You're welcome in my home anytime. Time to go, son. Can you stand?
He's asleep? Wouldn't matter how strong you were. It wouldn't be easy for Janssen to carry that guy.
Thank goodness everything turned out all right.
All thanks to the captain. But to finish my former thought, just the sheer size difference would mean that Janssen would more than likely simply be dragging Okotlan behind her. So it wouldn't be pretty. And it wouldn't matter how strong she was, the sheer size difference would make it awkward. But for the captain, I say thank you. There were few alternatives.
Think nothing of it. I agreed to offer you my aid, so this is merely a part of that duty.
Still, we are enemies, technically speaking, as I oppose the Fatui and their mistress.
Besides, I care deeply about this land.
Yes.
Right! When we were with Moika, you told us you and your soldiers defended Natlan against the Abyss 500 years ago.
Now, I keep referring to the Archon as Mavuika because that's how it's spelled. I kind of assumed that the captain was referring to her as Mawika because Russian accent from Snezhnaya. And then Paimon calls her Mawika too. I'm sorry, but that's not how you spell the name Mawika. There is no V in that. Gives me conniptions.
That's right. My desire to protect this nation remains unchanged. When my platoon arrived in Natland 500 years ago, like you, we were true Outlanders. But as time passed, I encountered the people of this land and witnessed their desperate struggle against the Abyss. Though many of the warriors were rash and inexperienced, they were steadfast and fearless in battle, willing to do anything to protect their fellow citizens, oftentimes with complete disregard for their own survival. Just as I fought for the glory of Conria, they fought for the survival of their nation. We happened to share a common enemy, so I decided to offer my aid. We fought side by side to the very end. I traveled to many places after that, but I never forgot this land. Even now, my work in Natlan remains unfinished.
Why don't you want to use your name from 500 years ago? There are some here who would remember it. Who might even share memories of the old days with you. You would not be alone anymore.
It may seem difficult to understand, but the reason is really quite simple. That name carries with it the glory of my homeland and the honor of Natlan. Yet, I failed to bring my soldiers home. And I failed to help Natlan defeat the Abyss.
Very well then. We will help you end the threat of the Abyss for good. And then I would hear your name, Captain.
That's not your fault. The Abyss is way stronger than any of us imagined.
You need not comfort me. I am no longer who I once was. Let the events of the past continue to collect dust in the annals of history. I will continue to help Natlan in my own way.
Like, with a draft of lucidity? Who knew you could make medicine? Were you a doctor before?
Oh, please don't tell me that Dottore made
The
that.
drought was Guthred's invention. He was a respected military doctor, as well as my trusted second-in-command.
Guthred. So he was a Conrian.
We faced a similar situation to what you witnessed today. The endless battles against the Abyss triggered delusions among the soldiers, to the point where some attempted to kill each other.
Sounds awfully familiar.
In order to develop a treatment as fast as possible, Guthred used himself as a test subject. He passed away shortly after the drought was complete.
And this is why your physicians and scientists should not test things on themselves. Perhaps if he had lived, he might have been able to refine it and remove some of its unfortunate side effects. But because he chose to use it on himself, we'll never know.
That's who he was. Unrelenting in his pursuits. No matter the cost, no matter the sacrifice. In the end, he even gave himself up for a chance of success.
Noble as it sounds, it might have been better if he hadn't done it.
I'm sure he would be pleased his creation aids people, even now. The Abyss has wrought enough suffering on this land. I sincerely hope this war will end soon.
With your help, it might. Yes, it's rather similar to what Mavuika wants to do.
Stop worrying about other people's survival, about their losses and sacrifices. You just need to win. That must be why I've returned. For this moment. Please finish what you set out to do, Commander.
So then, the soul that possessed Oraron was Guthred, wasn't it?
You're more perceptive than I imagined. However, some things are better kept secret for now. We may be working together, but our goals are not entirely aligned.
Of that I am well aware. Like I said, I am not fond of the Fatui or the Harbingers. You are almost the singular exception to that. For the moment.
What's with the secrets all of a sudden? Paimon's starting to think we should be more careful around you.
We always should have been careful around him. I said before that Auron was a fool for joining with the Fatui. Ever. And that he lucked out enormously when meeting with the captain, one of the only honorable members of the Harbingers. But he is still a Harbinger, and that bodes ill.
I do not mean to jeopardize the trust between us. I simply prefer to keep this to myself, because it's a personal matter. All I can tell you is this. Natlan may have survived the worst of the crisis, but the souls of this land are still not at peace. And that is why my work is not yet done.
Well, if it's personal, then we'll just have to trust you.
If you have other questions, I'm willing to answer them.
Truly.
Wait, like anything?
I wouldn't bet
Emma
on
wants
it.
to know how you eat with the mask. Anything you want to ask, Traveler?
I would ask, what is the Tsaritsa's end goal? And what deal did she strike with Zhongli for his gnosis? Nothing small. Wonder what Aether is actually going to ask him.
Natlan must pay the price for Mawika's use of the Ruler of Death's power. That price is death. And only Mawika's death can clear the debt. Even now that the war's over and the threat to Natlan is gone, it looks like that death is still set in stone.
Tell me then, what do you know about the Ruler of Death?
In the garden cultivated by the gods, flowers and weeds grow side by side. When the weeds compete for nutrients in the soil, the gardener intervenes to inhibit their growth. I'm not one to pass judgment based on my own standard of right and wrong. But it is an undeniable fact that she is responsible for my suffering, as well as that of my people. If that explanation is too difficult to understand, allow me to show you exactly what I mean.
A glimpse under the mask? The curse of immortality. Don't know what I expected, but this is...
The ruler of death can freely define the form of death, or grant immortality to anyone she desires.
And yet, even in granting immortality, it seems that she is capricious.
Her power is a rule in and of itself. Faced with such an overwhelming level of power, it can feel hopeless to resist.
And we don't get to see what was under the mask, huh? Although, this makes me wonder... I've been thinking. The Ode of Resurrection is literally the title of the next update. And we know already that it is possible to be resurrected in Natlan. The sacred fire can be used to restore the souls of the dead. If they have an ancient name, at any rate. I wonder, does the captain possess an ancient name? He's old enough now that he could be one of the ancients. But Mavuika has an ancient name, so she might die and be resurrected. Also, the captain may end up dying in her place. And perhaps he will be resurrected. And perhaps, in that rebirth, he might be set free. Removed from his curse. Now, wouldn't that be interesting? It would be a great enough excuse for them to reveal his face at last. a face restored to what it was 500 years ago, to before the curse afflicted him and rotted him. And he'd be even stronger then, no longer diminished as he currently is. But perhaps that's wishful thinking. We shall see.
But I am of the belief that, in this world, no destiny is unchangeable, no death inevitable, and no rule unbreakable. So, before the final moment truly arrives, we must fight harder than ever.
I was wondering where you'd got off to. You kinda did, if I'm being honest. This was getting rather interesting.
Oh, did something happen?
This is a critical time for you, Traveler. It's best not to delay, so let us end our conversation for now. Best of luck to you all. Goodbye.
For the time being.
So in the end, the captain still hasn't told us his real goal. He kind of reminds Paimon of someone we met recently. Oh, right, the Lord of the Night! They just seem so tired, you know? Since they've both been alive for many centuries, do you think that's just what happens when you've been alive for too long?
I don't think that simply living for a long time would result in such lethargy. Rather, it is the hardships of the lives they've led that leaves them thus. After all, everything the captain knew and loved in the ancient days is gone, reduced to ash either by the passage of time or by the doom of Khaenri'ah. And the curse has eaten away at him every day since his fall. It would be hard to imagine him not being drained by it all. Still, I am curious what his relationship to Mawika was back then. Would be interesting and kind of nice, honestly, if there was a spark between them. Something that could now be rekindled. It would certainly be in keeping with the theme of fire and rebirth. And who knows, like I suggested, they might kill the captain and resurrect him, and in so doing break his curse, restoring him to flesh and blood. That would be a hopeful interpretation of events, but not out of the question, I don't think. But, well, my speculation is just that. Speculation. And I think I'll end the episode here. We've run for about half an hour. So, we'll pick up next time at the Stadium of the Sacred Flame. If you've enjoyed this, please remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Do remember to check out my Elden Ring Let's Play, as well as my playthrough of the Genshin main story. And as always, have a good day.